All right, so with this problem, there's a couple of things going on that is probably best to kind of go over. The first idea is that the difference between expressions and equations. So with equations, generally there's some expression, and then that's set equal to another expression. And then what you can do is you can, if there's some sort of variable within this expression, then you can use this expression to solve for that variable. However, what we're given, and here's the problem, this is just an expression. So it's not an equation, and then all we have to do is just simplify this down. Now, when we want to simplify it down, first we're going to look at how many terms there are within the expression. So I see one term here, and then there's one term here, and then they're being subtracted by each other, right? So there's two terms, and then we're going to have to simplify each of the terms down. So what we can do is we can say this term, we're just going to leave it alone. I'm just going to put two dash marks to represent this term right here. And then that's minus. And then we have 2/5, which is raised to a -3. Raised to a -3rd power means 2/5. Raised to the third, and then with the negative, you raise that entire quantity over 1. So I'm just going to give a little example here. If you have a fraction like 2/5 and you raise it to a -1, a lot of people just say, oh, just flip the fraction around and just make it 2/5. And yes, that does make sense. And the reason why that makes sense is because if you take 2/5 and you raise it over 1, then in order to convert it back to the way it originally is supposed to be, you're multiplying it by 1. And the 1 can be written as 5 seconds over 5 seconds, right? Because anything over anything else is just equal to 1. And then the 1 times 5/2 is just 5/2. And then 2 times 5 is 10. 5 times 2 is 10. 10 divided by 10 is just 1. So then it's 5 seconds over 1, which is just 1 divided by 5 seconds is just equal to 5 seconds. So that's why that makes sense. And a lot of times in like Saxon math, or a lot of times in math books, they'll just simplify it to, oh yeah, just flip it around. It makes sense. But yeah, that's why it makes sense. So anyway, this expression, you can write it out to just, I'm gonna redo it over here. 1 over, when you raise something to a power, it's how many times that thing is multiplied by itself. So that comes out to, I'm gonna 2/5 times 2/5 times 2/5. Again, it's that term minus, whatever this is. And then that equals to the term minus 1 over 2 times 2 times 2 is 8 divided by 125. All right, because 5 times 5 times 5 is equal to 125. And then simplifying this back over on itself, or just flipping it around, just like I talked about earlier, equals 125 over 8. So now this term, this first term, is simplified. Now we can simplify the other term. This is a cubed root, and this is like a 5th root. I'm not sure exactly what it's called. But with roots, what you can do we'll just say like this is a squared root. Good example would be like the square root of 21. And that's just equal to 21 is just 7 times 3, right? So you can break that down a little bit more. And then from there, you can break that into square root of 7 times the square root of 3. So you can split up roots just like that. And that's what we're going to have to do in order to break this one down. So that is going to be equal to, and we're going to start writing this term in now. The cubed root of -1 times the cubed root of 27 over whatever is like the fifth root of -1, fifth root of 32, minus our 125 over 8, which is what we had earlier. Then this is what number times what number times what number, them being all the same numbers, is equal to whatever is within the cubed root. So if you ever have just a squared root, you can't do this because it doesn't simplify, because -1 times -1 equals 1. However, with cubed root, because it's an odd number, -1 times -1 times -1 always goes back to -1. So this is equal to -1 times cubed root of 27 times -1 times 32 minus 125 over 8. And then from there, cubed root of 27 comes into 3. So that's -3. Fifth of 32 is just 2. So that's -2 minus 125 over 8. And then this negative divided by negative is positive. And then we need to make the denominators equal to each other. So I'm going to simplify that again one more time. 8 over 12 minus 125 over 8. And then that is all equal to, what is that, 113 over 8. And then that should give you your, the negative, because it's being subtracted. And then that should give you your -14 1/8.